Welcome to Rauta's Backlog Reviews. This time we go back to 2018. This is an album that came to me in 2019, being old one. On the delivery, this one is Forbidden Rites with the debut album Pantheon Arcanum. This one is the only album by the band so far released by Cream Distribution already in 2018. And this is an interesting band. It's with an international lineup, partially from Cyprus, partially Mexico. And this is some interesting, theoretically interesting release because it blends in death metal, black metal, thrash metal. Yet at the same time it's none of those, well, at least from the more purist point of views. Now, the name of the band is as original as the style of music here. That is very easy to forget and later on find out like what the hell I was listening to. That is not to say the band here in question is without its value and worth, because actually there are some promise of things to come in a better way. But this is more like the first step, the kind of a demo which needs to be done before you actually really nail it. So you first kind of have this blueprint of an album, like, okay, we're gonna sound like that. We're gonna incorporate these kind of a classic death metal riffs. We're gonna incorporate some of the blacker tunes. We're gonna have those black metal raspy vocals. We're gonna have some trashier parts. We're gonna all mix it together and very much sound like 90s, except that this very much sound like 2000s, and not in a good way only. Now the thing here is, the band has quite a lot of promise with its aggression, its kind of darker aspects of metal, and being extreme metal in the first place. And it's really hard to put sometimes your finger, like, is this more like thrash oriented, or this is more like death heritage, and this is of death metal background. I mean, they all come together, and they're kind of blending in nicely. But the thing here is, nothing really stands out. None of these riffs are exactly something that you would call killer material. There are no really cool chorus parts, nothing like, hey, these solos are masterpieces, or these lead guitars just kind of outshine everything. It's more like, yeah, I get to where you're going, and it's much like a demo material, only a little bit better produced. And even that is kind of a two-edged sword. And by that two-edged sword thing, I mean, now the production is kind of a clean and crisp and all that stuff. You really can kind of figure out everything that's going on there, except that the vocals are a little bit too much on the front, and the drums are way too much something that people usually refer as triggered drums. Now, I don't mind if drums are triggered and if they're like machine made, if they're good. But here everything feels like it's way too sterile. Like, really lacks these kind of organic dynamics. Now, obviously, when bands are uber technical, think about bands such as Nile, Origin, Archspire, etc. Obviously, you want to hear every single detail, whether you're using different kind of splash or crash or whatever, cymbals, or what kind of drums you're using, little rototoms or bigger tom drums or whatever. You want to figure out what's going on. Now the thing here is, this is not that technical. Obviously, when the speed comes, higher and higher, you obviously want to hear that snare drum, sounding like very kind of a crisp. But then again, it also has the danger of becoming way too boring. Because if every bass drum sound, every snare sound, everything sounds exactly the same as the previous sound. I mean, if there are no dynamics, it becomes very, very much like machine made. Sterile in essence. And that's what really bothers me a little bit, because there is not enough interesting stuff happening with the guitar riffs or vocals or drums. And when you have this kind of uber clean, very sterile production, it becomes even more boring because there is no dynamics. It's as if it's lacking human factor. Now obviously vocals don't really do that, because the vocals are quite good here. I mean, they're kind of a raspy aggression, but even with these kind of rather quality raspy vocals, you cannot save an album if there are no really good riffs, if there are no memorable parts, if there are no details like which really take you on a journey towards, I don't know, death and doom. Now, thing here is the band really shows potential. They know how to play. They know how to make the sound kind of aggressive and all. So I don't want to say that this is a poor album, because it's not. But when we're talking about sheer mediocrity, then it's a different thing, because to me this sounds like quite a mediocre album with some good potential like laying around. And in my opinion, that's why this sounds much like it's the first demo, just a little bit better done. I think the band has a potential to become, or rather, I don't know, maybe big would be a wrong word, but let's say the band has a lot of potential to become a lot better, because these ideas, when incorporated properly and when the songwriting is a lot better, it has all the potential to become something very, very interesting. But this album, in my opinion, falls short, and I can really recommend this to any other people except those who are more interested to getting more of these so-called international names. The bands coming from countries which are not too filled with, big ass extreme metal bands coming all over the place. With these words given and said, give it a listen if you feel like it's your cup of tea, if it's right up your alley. But just don't expect anything like 8 out of 10. Just have more moderate expectations and you're good to go. Once again, comments and questions, welcome. Take care and see you soon.